Good morning. We're back with Ezra Chapter 3. The altar is rebuilt. Now, in the early autumn, when the Israelites had settled in their towns, all the people assembled together as one person in Jerusalem. Then Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, with his fellow priests, and Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, with his family, began to rebuild the altar of God of Israel, so they could sacrifice burnt offerings on it, as instructed in the law of Moses, the man of God. Even though the people were afraid of the local residents, they rebuilt the altar at its old site. Then they immediately began to sacrifice burnt offerings on the altar to the Lord, and they did this each morning and evening. They celebrated the festival of shelters. Excuse me, let me read that again. They celebrated the festival of shelters as prescribed in the law of Moses, sacrificing the burnt offerings specified for each day of the festival. They also offered the regular burnt offerings and the offerings required for the new moon celebrations and the other annual festivals to the Lord. Free will offerings were also sacrificed to the Lord by the people. 15 days before the festival of the shelters began, the priests had begun to sacrifice burnt offerings to the Lord. This was also before they had started to lay the foundation of the Lord's temple. The people rebuilt the temple. Then they hired masons and carpenters and brought cedar logs from the people of Tyre. I always forget how that's pronounced. Sorry, Sidon. And paying them with food, wine, and olive oil. The logs were brought down from the Lebanon mountains and floated along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea to Joppa, for King Cyrus had given permission for this. The construction of the temple of God began in mid-spring, and during the second year after they arrived in Jerusalem. The workforce was made up of everyone who had returned from exile, including Zerubbabel's son including Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, Jeshua, son of Zehozadak, and his fellow priests, and all the Levites. The Levites who were 20 years old or older were put in charge of the rebuilding of the Lord's temple. The works at the temple of God were supervised by Jeshua with his sons and relatives, and Kadmiel and his sons, and all the descendants of Hodavah. They were helped in this task by the Levites of the family of Henadad. When the builders completed the foundation of the Lord's temple, the priests put on their robes and took their places to blow their trumpets. And the Levites and descendants of Asaph clashed their cymbals to praise the Lord, just as King David had prescribed. With praise and thanks they sang this song to the Lord. He is so good, his faithful love for Israel endures forever. Then all the people gave a great shout, praising the Lord, because the foundation of the Lord's temple had been laid. Many of the elder priests, Levites, and, excuse me while I turn the page, and other leaders remembered the first temple, and they wept out loud when they saw the new temple's foundation. The others, however, were shouting for joy. The joyful shouting and weeping mingled together in a loud commotion that could be heard far in the distance. Ezra Chapter 4. Enemies opposed the rebuilding. The enemies of Judea and Benjamin heard that the exiles were rebuilding a temple to the Lord, the God of Israel. So they approached Zerubbabel, and the other leaders, and said, "Let us build with you, for we worship your God just as you do. We have sacrificed to him ever since King Esarhaddon of Assyria brought us here." But Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the other leaders of Israel replied, "You may have no part of this work, for we have nothing in common. We alone will build the temple of the Lord of Israel, just as King Cyrus of Persia commanded us." Then the local residents tried to discourage and frighten the people of Judea to keep them from their work. They bribed agents to work against them and to frustrate their aims. This went on during the entire reign of Cyrus of Persia and lasted until King Darius of Persia took the throne. Later opposition under King Artaxerxes. Sorry, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Years later, when is it Xerxes? Maybe it's a Z instead of a Xerxes. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. began his reign, the enemies of Judea wrote him a letter of accusation against the people of Judea and Jerusalem. And even later, during the reign of King Artaxerxes of Persia, the enemies of Judea, led by Bishlam, Mithridath, and Tabeel, sent a letter to Artaxerxes in the Aramaic language, and it was translated for the king. Ruham, the governor, and Shimashai, the court secretary, wrote the letter telling King Artaxerxes about the situation in Jerusalem. They greeted the king for all their colleagues, the judges, and the local leaders, the people of Tarpel, the Persians, the Babylonians, and the people of Erech and Zuzah, that is Elam. They also sent greetings from the rest of the people, whom the great and the noble Ashurbanipal had deported and relocated in Samaria and throughout the neighboring lands of the province west of the Euphrates River. This is a copy of the letter they sent him. To Artaxerxes, from your loyal subjects in the province west of the Euphrates River. Please be informed that the Jews who come here to Jerusalem from Babylon are rebuilding this rebellious and evil city. They have already laid the foundations for its walls and will soon complete them. But we wish you to know that if this city is rebuilt and its walls are completed, it will be much to your disadvantage, for the Jews will then refuse to pay their tribute, customs, and tolls to you. Since we are loyal to you as your subjects, and we do not want to see you dishonored in this way, we have sent you this information. We suggest that you search your ancestors' records, where you will discover what a rebellious city this has been in the past, and in fact it was destroyed because of its long history of sedition against the kings and countries who attempted to control it. We declare that if this city is rebuilt and its walls are completed, the province west of the Euphrates River will be lost to you. Then Artaxerxes made this reply to Ruham, the governor, Shimashai, the court secretary, and their colleagues living in Samaria and throughout the province west of the Euphrates River. Greetings. The letter you sent has been translated and read to me. I have ordered a search to be made of the records, and have indeed found that the Jerusalem has in times past been a hotbed of insurrection against many kings. In fact, rebellion and sedition are normal there. Powerful kings have ruled over Jerusalem and the entire province west of the Euphrates River, and have received vast tribute, customs, and tolls. Therefore, issue orders to have these people stop their work. The city must not be rebuilt except at my express command. Do not delay, for we must not permit this situation to get out of control. When this letter from King Artaxerxes was read to Ruham, Shimshai, and their colleagues, they hurried to Jerusalem and forced the Jews to stop building. The rebuilding resumes. The work on the temple of God in Jerusalem had stopped, and it remained at a standstill until the second year of the reign of King Darius of Persia. Okay, and I will stop there and do chapter 5 later.